While the airline is long gone, Mexicana would have celebrated its centenary this year, and as part of that, Herpa has decided to release quite a few aircraft models of the airline. This is one of them, so of course we should take a closer look. And with that, hello and welcome to a new episode of Review, where we today will take a closer look at an Airbus A318 of Mexicana. At the front of the box we have the cutout, so we can get a glimpse of the aircraft model inside, and at the top of the box we have the Mexicana branding. On the back side of the box we then find another cutout, and we can see it's a limited edition. Honestly speaking, I'm just tired of this box design by now. I really hope that Herpa will reconsider, because this is just absolutely awful. And before we get too far into today's review, it is worth mentioning that this aircraft model does come with a stand. And here she is, the Airbus A318-100 in the last delivery of Mexicana. Mexicana was Mexico's oldest airline and one of the oldest continuously single-branded airlines after KLM, Avianca and Qantas until its demise in 2010. But now let us take a closer look at this aircraft model that Herpa released late 2020 to see what it has to offer. We start off with the tail section of the aircraft, where we, on the vertical stabilizer, have the Mexicana branding. Then on the fuselage we find the writing of Mexicana, the full registration code of the aircraft and the Mexican flag. We do also have a little bit of detailing at the very tail of the aircraft with the APU exhaust. At the front of the aircraft and incorporated into the livery we then again have the Mexicana branding. We do also have a One World logo, of which the airline was a member, although it was a very short-lived membership, given that the airline joined on November the 10th, 2009 and went bankrupt in August 2010. Underneath the cockpit window we then have the aircraft type specification, and that's pretty much it for details around the cockpit section, other than the cockpit windows and the window wipers that have been printed on as well. That could and should be much more detailed. Moving on to the engines, and if you look here at the nacelles, we can see they have been given this bright bluish color that is incorporated into the Mexicana color scheme. We have the Mexicana writing as well as the silver leading edge printed on, but that's all for printed details on those engines. The physical detailing itself is alright, but it's not nearly as sophisticated as it would have been with other current Herpa Wings releases. We especially see that when we look into the engines from the front, where we can see the engine fan blades. On the fuselage, just above the wings, we have the emergency exit, which I definitely didn't forget to film, but let's focus on the wings because they actually do have quite a few details that are worth taking a look at. Starting off with the top side, we can see the different flap slats and spoilers have been carved out very nicely. We do also have the markings for the emergency exits. We have some different shades of grey for additional detailing, or the Mexicana branding written on as well. That's quite nice. Also, the underside looks just fine here. We also find the full registration code of the aircraft, but my highlight is actually the printing we have on the wingtip fences. Here Herpa has done a very decent job. And then we can take a quick look at the landing gear, and that is the standard landing gear that Herpa used to use for all the Airbus A320 family aircraft models back in 2008 and still are using for the A318. Personally, I do very much prefer this landing gear over the usual standard landing gear for the A320 models Herpa is producing, but it does also have some disadvantages, but more on that a little bit later. And then last but not least, we do also have the doors to the cargo compartments printed on here in the backside of the aircraft and here at the front of the aircraft. So there we have it, the Airbus A318-100 in the last delivery used by Mexicana in scale 1 to 500 by Herpa Wings. And what can we say about this aircraft model? Personally, I'm torn apart by this aircraft model because it has the pedigree to be an absolute banger. Firstly, it's an A318, an aircraft type that I absolutely love. It comes with a fantastic livery pulled off with a great print quality, and it uses the old standard landing gear for A320 family aircraft models, which is so much superior to what Herpa is currently using on all the other aircraft models. So why isn't it a banger? Well, Herpa is clearly capable of pulling off great print quality, so it's a shame that they are so stingy with the amount of details. I mean, seriously, if you take any details away from this model, you wouldn't recognize it as an aircraft anymore. Then we can't run away from the fact that Herpa has just been lazy. They had 3 to 4 years to refurbish the A318 mold, and they didn't. We can see that, for example, in how the wings have been mounted. That's normally pulled off much nicer, or the engines that clearly are just old parts. What, however, is good about it is the fact that we still have a cockpit section that looks like an A320 family aircraft, unlike the other A320 family aircraft from Herpa Wings, which I don't know what they're doing with, but they just look wrong. Which is also great is the landing gear, which actually looks lifelike, unlike the landing gear they're using for all the other A320 family aircraft models. But it has two disadvantages as well. One, it is very fragile, and two, it's very important that it is mounted correctly, especially the front landing gear. And this is again where Herpa is regularly failing, because they mount it like the aircraft is about to take off. This could very easily be solved if they were just starting to do something called quality control. So in conclusion, this is an aircraft model that is heavily let down by the usual Herpa nonsense, but at least in a great looking livery. Now with that, we have reached the end of today's episode. If you have enjoyed this video, then don't forget to leave a like, that would be very much appreciated. And of course, if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe? That would be absolutely awesome. With that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.